Alumni Career Speaker Series, so I appreciate you coming. We are sponsoring this through the Alumni Constituent Society here at Penn State Wilkes-Barre, as well as Career Services. And we have Dr. Jonathan Dougherty here today. He's been with us before. Some of you may have seen him around campus. He's one of our advisory board members. And he graduated from architectural engineering. He has a PhD in that, but graduated with his bachelor's degree from University of Park in 1999. And I'm going to have to look at my cheat sheet. He works with James G. Davis Construction Corporation now, and he creates basically corporate university teaching, education, and he also manages the initiatives of the corporation. Is that?
Well, we have a university partnership program as well, where we reach out to the different universities where we actively recruit and work with the faculty and the students there.
Okay. So I'd like for all of you to please welcome Dr. Jonathan Dougherty. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Jill. Good afternoon. How many people looking for an internship? Maybe, kind of. How many people looking for a full-time job? Faculty, do not raise your hand. Okay, good. Well, you've come to the right place. Hopefully in the next hour or so, we're going to give you some tips, some tricks to get you that internship or that full-time position. As Jill mentioned, my name is Jonathan Dougherty, and I serve on the advisory board here. I'm always happy to come back to Wilkes-Barre. This is my home. But you're probably thinking to yourself, who is this guy and why should we listen to him? So let me give you a little bit of background beyond what Jill had to say. Born and raised in northeastern Pennsylvania from 40 Fort. Went to Penn State and did my undergraduate degree and my PhD. I always tell students it was the best 12 years of my life at University Park. I also taught at Penn State AE department in University Park for 6 years in the architectural engineering program. And I taught in engineering. And one of the things that I found when I was teaching engineering was nobody taught the soft skills. Nobody taught the people management skills, the leadership skills that students need to be able to take a trajectory in their career. Because there's a very good chance you're technically good at what you do because of your education at Penn State. But how do you keep going to that next level? So I've taken that on as part of my mission to go out and talk about people skills and management skills and leadership skills. And so that's why I'm here today. I'm with Davis Construction. I've taught at several different universities, but I'm really happy to be back at Wilkes-Barre today. So we're going to start by talking about math. 1 + 1 = 6. This is not some kind of new math that they're teaching at Penn State, okay? But it really gets to the essence of the power of your network, okay? I'm on LinkedIn. Anybody on LinkedIn? Okay. I've got about 500 or 600 people that I'm linked in to, okay? Those 500 or 600 people link me to about 5.8 million people as of this morning, okay? So your network can be exponential by linking yourself to certain individuals. We've got a handout for today. Hopefully you grabbed one on the way in. I want you to turn over. We don't really do things front to back. Turn to the back, please. And in the right-hand column, I want you to put the number 100 at the top, and I want you to circle it. 100 at the top and circle it. Your goal by the time you graduate from Penn State is to come up with 100 people in your network. Contacts, doesn't have to be within your industry. Could be doctors, financial advisors, attorneys, people that you can rely on. Could be faculty here at Penn State. All right? Everybody says, oh, Jonathan, how am I going to come up with 100 people? Well, look at the bottom of that column. My name is at the bottom. 1 down, 99 to go. All right? It's really important to build that network. And I think that being a connector is one of the most important business skills, and I would say even life skills, that you need to have. Think about it. People do business with people they know and like. When you're putting a group together for a class project, who do you want to be in your group? You want the people that you get along with. You want the people that complement your skill set. You want people that are going to add value to the group. You don't want the slackers. You don't want the people that aren't going to contribute. The same is true in business. And we'll keep coming back to this sentence of people do business with people they know and like throughout the presentation today. I also think that success in connecting has to do with generosity. You've got to be able to give more than you get. And you're building that relationship. It's not a transaction. It's not a job. You're building a relationship with that person, with that company that you want to go and work for. Right now, you're probably thinking to yourself, well, I don't have anything to give. What am I going to give to these companies or to these individuals at companies that I want to talk to about internships or full-time positions? Well, hopefully by the end of today, we'll be able to give you a couple tips and tricks so you can give back a little bit to those individuals. I love this quote from Robert Schuller, and he said, "Spectacular achievement is always preceded by spectacular preparation." When you're getting ready for career fair, for job interviews, for an info session, anything where you're going to be interacting, you need to prepare. And part of that preparation is to have a mission, have a goal. Anybody ever hear of the acronym SMART, S-M-A-R-T, when you're talking about goal settings? By the way, we're on the inside. I told you we're not going to go in any particular order. We're on the inside of your handout. Anybody heard of SMART before? A couple people? Anybody know what the S stands for? This is when you're setting goals for yourself. What does the S stand for? Can't hear you. No, not skills. We'll help you on this one. Specific. Your goals need to be specific. You have to have a reason, and it must be a specific reason. Anybody know what M stands for? Measurable. There are prizes. I love this book, How to Make People Like You in 90 Seconds or Less. It's a great book. M is measurable. Have you read it? No, I haven't. Okay, there you go. Measurable. They need to be measurable. You need to have something specific, something measurable that you can take with you. Anybody know what A stands for? Quiet. Close. Achievable. Achievable or attainable. I've got your book down here, Tony. Attainable. You need to be able to attain the goal. It can't be some kind of pie in the sky idea. It needs to be achievable or attainable. R. Reachable or relevant. Yeah. You can come down and get this one. This is good too. Johnny Bunko, the last career guide you'll ever need. It's like a cartoon comic strip, but it's all about career guidance. It's really cool. They need to be relevant. Okay? Relevant to the time, relevant to the place, relevant to the situation. And finally, T. Time. Yeah, they need to be time bound. You need to have some kind of a time associated with it. So when you're looking at career goals and looking at a career fair, a lot of people say their goal is, I want to get 5 offers. Okay? It's a terrible goal. And the reason why it's a terrible goal is because in addition to the specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound, you don't own that goal. It's in somebody else's hands. It's in the employer's hands. A better goal would be to say, I'm going to go to the career fair and I'm going to talk to 10 companies that I would like to get a full-time position with. You can control that goal. That's yours. Okay? It's specific, it's measurable, 10 companies. It's attainable. You can see 10 companies at a career fair. It's relevant because you want a job, and it's time-bound because you're at the career fair. Okay? I kept looking to see who I could give credit to for this SMART acronym, and I don't know where it came from, so I'm going to take credit for it. It's mine. But I've added 3 more, I, E, and S. Smarties. I means it's inscribed. That means it's written down. You must write your goals down. It doesn't mean anything if it's not written down. It must be exciting. Who wants to achieve an unexciting goal, a dull goal? So make your goals exciting. And finally, make them seen, and by that I mean visible. Everybody thinks I'm crazy, and one day I'm going to take a picture and put it in my PowerPoint presentation, but I have my list of goals posted on my bathroom mirror. Every morning, when I'm brushing my teeth, I'm forced to look at my goals. I've got the goals that I've accomplished down at the bottom of the list, and I've got the goals that I need to achieve at the top of the list. So every day it's visible to me. I know what I need to accomplish, and I can also appreciate the things that I have accomplished already. If you don't want to put them on your bathroom mirror because you think your roommate's going to think you're a nutcase, then put them in your folder that you carry with you every day to class. So you can look at it all the time and make sure you're reminded of those goals. You also need to do your homework. I think one of the biggest pet peeves when students come up to me as part of a career fair or an info session is that they don't know what I do. And so if they don't know what I do, immediately turns me off. For example, I work for a general contractor in Washington, D.C., and I was at a career fair last fall, and a student came up to me, and I said, "Joe, what do you want to do with your life?" And he said, "I want to work for an electrical subcontractor in New Jersey." Well, that's well and good if that's your goal, but I can't help you get there because I work for a general contractor in Washington, D.C. Okay? So you need to be able to do your homework on these companies, and it's so easy right now with the internet. Go to the company's pages, websites, and take some notes. My advice is this: get yourself an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. Put the company's name at the top of the paper, and go to their website and write down a couple of bullet points for yourself. That way you can keep it front of mind when you're going to talk with the company or when you're going to interview with the company. Have those bullet points, things that are important to you and also important to the company. Maybe it's the company's mission statement. Maybe it's projects that the company works on. Maybe it's people that you know within the company. But come up with a list of things that you can identify and talk with those individuals about when you're at a career fair. I'd say do that on the front half of the page. On the bottom half of the page, leave it as an opportunity for questions. So let's just go ahead and assume that you're going to get an opportunity to interview with all of these companies that you do your homework on. At the bottom half of the page, write your interview questions. It's one of the biggest things that most students probably don't realize, but as a recruiter, it means a lot to me. When you come and sit down for an interview, and you pull out a sheet of paper, and my company name is up at the top of that piece of paper, and you've got questions written out, it shows you want it. And it separates you from everybody else who hasn't done that. So there's a lot more people here at Penn State Wilkes-Barre that are in this classroom right now. So don't share any of this information with them. Okay? Keep this all to yourself. This is good stuff. Okay? But make sure you do your homework. How many people have Googled themselves? Okay, well, you need to go home tonight and Google yourself. Because companies are Googling you. All right? Go home, Google yourself, and get all of that crazy stuff that's on the internet about you and try and get it out of there. Because people are using that. Recruiters are going into the internet and Googling you. So you need to know at least what's out there about you. So tonight, first thing you're going to do when you go home, Google yourself. I get to go to a lot of different events, and as you go through your career, you'll be going to a lot of different events as well. Even dinners with companies and things like that. You need to make sure that you're up on things that are going on, current events, because you never know what people are going to want to talk about at these events. So if I'm going to a cocktail party or a reception or something, before I shut down my computer at the end of the day, I always look at Yahoo and I look at CNN or whatever your favorite news organization is to find out what's going on in the world. So you can have an intelligent conversation about what's going on because you don't know what people are going to want to talk about. Several years ago, I went to an event at the College of Engineering at Penn State, main campus, and I was in between a nuclear engineering professor and the spouse of another professor. And it was right at the time where we had the tsunamis and we were having all the nuclear issues over in Japan. So the nuclear engineering professor wanted to talk all about what was going on over in Japan. Fortunately, I had read some information about it and I was able to have a semi-intelligent conversation about what was going on. The spouse on the left wanted to talk about Dancing with the Stars. Now, I do not watch Dancing with the Stars, but fortunately my mom does. And on my 3.5-hour trip from Maryland to Pennsylvania, I talked to my mom, and she told me who did the rumba, and who did the cha-cha, and who was going through, and who wasn't going through. So I could have what I will call a semi-intelligent conversation with this woman about Dancing with the Stars. But the point of the story is you never know what people are going to want to talk about. So you have to know a little bit about a lot of different topics when you're going into these social settings. You should also use Google to find out who's going to be at the event. If you know that an individual is coming or you're going to be interviewing with someone, Google their name and get some information about them so you can try and build that connection when you meet them. I've also come up with this idea of a professional pickup line. And it's something I've been kind of spouting about for a while because I think it's so important. How many of you have gone to a career fair before? A couple people? How many of you, when you walk up to the booth, have experienced that awkward silence when you don't know if you're supposed to talk or if the person representing the company is supposed to talk? It happens a lot. And so my advice to all of you is to be the first to speak. Remember, the person on the other side, the person in the booth, they already have a job. Okay? They're not looking. You're looking for a job. So I've come up with this idea of the professional pickup line. It's like your elevator speech, your 30-second spiel about yourself. And I recommend that you use this I, verb, and afters, because this is not the professional pickup line you're going to use when you're going out to the bar. This is not, I'm a Pisces, I like long walks on the beach and margaritas. Okay? This is professional. This helps you get the job. Okay? So use I, verb, and afters. So if I'm introducing myself in the construction industry for the first time, I'll say, hi, my name is Jonathan Dougherty. I'm the Director of Corporate Knowledge for James G. Davis Construction Corporation. I create opportunities for lifelong learning. I, create is the verb, and opportunities for lifelong learning. It's a great pickup line because everybody hears construction and opportunities for lifelong learning and they're confused. But then they say, tell me a little bit more about that. And it gets the conversation going, which is what you want to do with your pickup line. Now, it's not as easy as a student to come up with something as interesting, potentially, because of the dichotomy of construction and opportunities for lifelong learning. So my recommendation is give your little spiel about yourself, your little 30-second spiel, and then turn it into a question and say, tell me a little bit about what you do at your company. So it gets them talking. All right? So you want to get them talking. People love to talk about themselves. Okay? They love to talk about what they do. They love to talk about what they're passionate about. So if you can turn the conversation around and get them talking, it's even better. They're going to intersperse questions for you, for sure, throughout, but get them talking. A lot of times, you'll have a conversation where you've said very little, but you've asked the right questions. That person talks a lot about what they do and who they are, and they'll walk away from that conversation saying, boy, there's something I like about them. Well, you said very little, but they talked a lot about themselves, and they liked that, so they like you. Little tips and tricks for you. But use this professional pickup line. Practice it with your friends, okay, your roommates, so you can nail this down 30 seconds about yourself. You also need to prepare a toolkit. Okay, things like a folder. It doesn't have to be a nice leather-bound portfolio, but some kind of folder. When you're going to a career fair, you're going to collect a lot of information. You're obviously going to have copies of your resume in there and some kind of a writing utensil, a pen or a pencil. And we'll talk a little bit about that later on. I've been doing a lot of talking. Anybody have any questions?
Actually, Jonathan, can you please explain, you had mentioned you don't like it when somebody comes up to you and they're unprepared.
Right.
But we do encourage our freshmen and our sophomores to go just to kind of get a feel for the career fair and also to learn, to explore careers.
Right.
So what would impress you in terms of how they could approach you, but they're not looking for a job?
I think if you're a freshman or sophomore, an undergraduate who's not really looking for a job, you should change your mindset. You should start looking for a job as a freshman or a sophomore. Okay? You're building that relationship. But I understand where the question is coming from. So what you want to do is do your homework. Understand what that company does. And understand how you can benefit and make an impact on that company. And maybe it's not going to happen this year through an internship, or maybe it's not going to happen next year, but if you're persistent, if you keep going after it, we're going to talk about doing follow-up later. All of that stuff is extremely, extremely important as you're trying to build this relationship with the company. If they're not looking for freshmen and sophomore, maybe you go up to a company, you've got the mindset that I want a job, but they're not hiring. One of the best pieces of advice I can give you is to come back and say, you know, I understand that you're not hiring this year. Would it be possible for me to come to your office and do an office visit so I could see your operations? It shows them that you're really interested. You're not just there to get a job, you're there to build the relationship with the company. So understand that they may not be hiring freshmen and sophomores. Don't take it personally, but turn it into a positive. Turn it into something that is going to take you to the next level by asking them about doing some kind of a job visit. How many people have Facebook? Everybody's got Facebook. How many people have their security settings set in Facebook so only your friends can see information about you? Okay, not everybody. So tonight when you go home, you're going to Google yourself, and then you're going to change your security settings on Facebook so only your friends can see the information that's on your Facebook page. Recruiters are using Facebook too. So make sure all of that stuff is cleaned up. And remember, what happens on Facebook, or what happens in Wilkes-Barre, winds up on Facebook. All of that stuff. I liken changing the security settings on Facebook to buying car insurance. I don't buy car insurance because I'm a bad driver. I buy car insurance because everybody else is a bad driver. Okay? Same thing with this. I'm not concerned too much about what I'm going to put on Facebook because I can edit myself before I put it on there. I'm worried about all my so-called friends are going to put on Facebook. That picture from the kegger last weekend, okay? You got to be able to control that stuff because the recruiters are looking at that information. So just keep that in mind as you go. And set up a LinkedIn page if you haven't already. We talked a little bit about LinkedIn before. That's kind of like the professional version of Facebook. You're not going to post a status update of that you had a turkey sandwich and Doritos for lunch on LinkedIn, but you're going to put a professional resume on LinkedIn. So working the floor, we're in the front page in the middle section of the handout if you're following along. Introductions are really important. And let's go actually to the middle where we talk about name tags and stuff on the inside. When you go to these events, you've got name tags. Always put your name tag on the right-hand side. Anybody know why we put our name tag on the right-hand side? Because we always want to put it on the left, don't we? Yeah. You got it. When you shake hands, your line of sight is to your right-hand side. So when you're looking at somebody and you're shaking their hand, they're looking at your right-hand side, you're looking at their right-hand side. I'm not very good with names. So any help that I can get to remember your name is a positive thing in my book. And by having that connection on the right-hand side, you're not having to look across. You can make eye contact and still look at the person's name tag. So always from now on, name tags on the right-hand side. You need to be an active listener. We're going to talk about body language, so I'll save that for a little bit. But let's talk a minute about handshakes because it's really important. You're making that first impression. It's how you dress, it's how you speak, it's how you shake hands. Everybody thinks I'm nuts, but how many people have experienced the limp fish handshake? Yeah, you know you have. Some of you might have given it. Okay, how about the bone crusher? The one where you think you're not getting your hand back from the person, okay? So a really simple tip when you're shaking hands with an individual, arm parallel to the floor, 4 fingers together, thumb up. Ready? Arm parallel to the floor, 4 fingers together, thumb up. The idea is you want to lock thumbs with the person you're shaking hands with. If you can lock thumbs and pump a few times, you're going to have a very strong handshake. All right? So remember that. Arm parallel floor, 4 fingers together, thumb up, lock thumbs, and shake hands that way. You want to be able to show your personality in these events. This is not just a technical interview. People want to know about you. They want to know what makes you tick. They want to know if you're going to fit into the company. So show your personality. And I put here stop, reflect, regroup, repeat. When you're at a career fair especially, you're going to get a lot of business cards. Okay? And so what I recommend is when you're done at the booth and you've collected all the information and you said your thank yous, go and find a quiet corner for yourself and reflect on your conversation. The reason why I tell you to bring a pen to these events is I want you to flip the business card over that you just received, and I want you to write some things that are going to help you remember that individual. So if you just had talked to me at my booth and walked away, you'd turn my business card over and write strikingly handsome. All right? You might also write some things that we talked about. So I'm in engineering. So if we talked about some sustainability or building information modeling, okay, you want to turn that over and write those things down. Because I told you before, people do business with people they know and like. And you need to have generosity and give more than you get. One way that you can give more than you get is by remembering those topics that you discussed with that recruiter. And maybe you've got a class somewhere down the road where you read an article on the stock market or on sustainability or on pick a topic, insert your major here. And you can email that article to the person that you talked to. Say, we met at the Penn State Wilkes-Barre Career Fair. I really enjoyed talking with you. We had a great discussion about sustainability. Here's an article that we read in my class this semester. I thought it would be of interest to you. You're giving back to that individual. And you're showing your interest in the position again in a very non-threatening way. Okay? So be able to take those things, remember them, which is why I tell you to write them on the back of the business card, and actually use that information as you go through. Body language.
They also have their email address too.
Yeah, exactly. You've got the email on the front of the business card, so you can shoot an email with that article.
When you send them that.
Oh, yes. They have you, yeah, the recruiter has your contact. Yep. Body language is really, really important. We spend a lot of time thinking about our resume and those kind of things, but body language is really important. And the reason it's important, this guy, Persa Maharabian in 1972 came up with this thing. 7% of what people remember is content and words. That's why I have a handout. Because you're not going to remember but 7% of what I say today. 38% is tone of voice. That's why I don't stand up here and talk like this for the entire time and sound like your principal over the loudspeaker when you're in high school. Because not only would you be bored, but I'd be pretty bored too. So use tone of voice when you're speaking. And finally, 55% is body language. It's what we do with our body when we're talking. That's what people remember the most. So I have what I call my 18-step plan for body language. A couple less steps than Alcoholics Anonymous, but we'll get you through really quickly here. Don't cross your arms. It's a very comfortable position for a lot of us, but it shows that you're not open. Okay, it shows you're not interested. If I'm standing at a career fair and I've got my arms closed like this, do you think people are going to want to come up and talk with me? Probably not. I want you to use open posture. And what I mean by open posture is that your legs should be shoulder width apart, hands at your side. Open posture. That's how you should be going to represent yourself when you walk up to these recruiters. You want to make eye contact. Don't be creepy. Okay, but you want to have good eye contact. When someone is talking with you, you want to make eye contact with that person. If you're interviewing with multiple people, you want to make eye contact primarily with the person that asked you the question, but you don't want to leave others out. So make sure you're making primary eye contact with that person, but you're looking around at the other people in the interview space as well. Don't be afraid to take up some space. When you're talking with people, about 18 inches is comfortable between folks when they're talking. Now, I don't expect you to get your yardstick out and measure 18 inches when you walk up to a recruiter, but understand what that space is and be able to leave about 18 inches between you and the other person. You also want to relax your shoulders. People get very nervous about career fairs and interviews, so shake your shoulders out and relax your shoulders. The other thing that I recommend that students do is listen to your favorite music before you go in. You know how athletes always have their earbuds in when they're walking into the stadium? And they're getting that music that's going to pump them up and get them ready to go? Do that. On my drive up this morning, I had my iPod going in my car, and I was getting all my, high energy songs so I could come and do this. So just take a note from athletes and listen to some good music that's going to get you pumped up. Nod your head when people are talking. It shows that you're interested in the conversation. Don't be Woody Woodpecker. Okay, but nod, showing, yes, I understand what you're saying. I agree with what you're saying. You don't want to slouch. You want to sit up straight. Shoulders back, chest out. You want to lean, but not too much. About 3 to 5 degrees. Again, I don't want you to have a protractor on your hip, but lean in a little bit as people are talking. It shows you're interested. If you're nodding, you're leaning in, you've got open posture, man, you got a job. You want to smile and laugh. Okay, this is not all serious. It's okay to have a little bit of fun. When I was teaching at Penn State, I always used to say, rule number 1, always laugh at the teacher's jokes. Okay, same is true with recruiters. Okay, whether they're good jokes or bad jokes, you always laugh. And don't touch your face. It just shows a sign of nervousness if you touch your face while you're in an interview or while you're talking with someone. So don't touch your face. Keep your hands in open posture, you'll be fine. Or on the home stretch, keep your head up. You always want to look to the horizon. It's amazing, when I go to these college campuses, everybody's looking at their iPhone, their iPod, their iPad. Nobody looks at each other anymore. Okay? When you're walking down the career fair aisle, when you're walking into an interview, keep your head up. Look towards the horizon. You want to slow down a little bit, both in your walking and your talking. Because when we're nervous, we tend to speed up our speech. So you want to slow down a little bit. Don't fidget. Try and declutter your movements. Use your hands more confidently when you're speaking. I am not Italian, but I use my hands a lot when I talk. Okay? If you're trying to make a point, use your hands to make the point. If you're at an event where they're serving drinks, lower your drink. Don't keep your drink up here, because it looks like at any moment as somebody's ready to walk up and talk to you, you're going to go and take a drink. So it just makes you more approachable if you lower your drink. Realize where your spine ends. This has to go with standing up straight. Your spine ends about halfway up your head, not at the base of your head. So make sure you know where your spine ends so you can stand up straight. Don't stand too close. Anybody ever experience the close talker? Yeah. Oh, it's terrible. They get in and they start talking with you, and it is incredibly inappropriate.
I agree.
Yes, it's not that much fun for me either. But you're going to have to deal with these people. You're going to have to deal with the close talkers. So just prepare yourself for it. I think probably the most important one here is number 17. And that's to mirror what the other person is doing. So if the other person is standing 18 inches apart, that means they want their space. If the other person is leaning in, you lean in. Okay? If the other person is a close talker, you be a close talker. Why? People do business with people they know and like. If you've got similar body language to the person that you're talking with, even though if that's not the most comfortable for you, they're going to walk away from that conversation and say, man, there's something about that guy I like. I don't know what it is. So the body language is very, very important. And in all of this, you need to keep a good attitude. We're in the middle of the slide. I just want to cover this. I am by no means an etiquette expert, but when you go out, you're going to have dinners, you're going to have interviews at dinner that people are going to invite you to. And this is what a typical place setting looks like. Unfortunately, when you actually get to the restaurant, it never looks like this. It looks like this. And then you're like, oh crap. Which wine glass or water glass is mine? Which bread plate is mine? What do I use first? So here's a couple of quick tips. You're going to use silverware from the outside in. So if there's a salad, there's going to be a salad fork, and you're going to have a soup spoon, and work yourself into teaspoon and knife. The other thing I like you to keep in mind is BMW. Bread, meal, and wine or water. It's an easy way to remember which bread plate is yours, which glassware is yours. The other trick that people use is B and D for bread and drink, but I think you look a little silly if you're in an interview and you pull out your hands to do B and D. So just remember BMW and you'll be fine. When you're finished eating, you're going to put your plate or your silverware at 10:20 as if it was the plate was a face of a clock. That means that you're finished and that the wait staff could take your plate away. The other thing that I want to caution about is if you're at an event where cocktails are being served, and especially if they're free cocktails, please limit yourself. You know what your limits are because you surpassed them last weekend. All right, but know what your limits are and only limit yourself to 1 or 2 cocktails. Standing by the bar is actually a great way to meet people because at some point during the night, just about everybody is going to come to the bar, okay, to get a drink. But you don't need to be there with a drink the entire time. All right, you're making an impression with these people. Coming down the home stretch, I love this quote from William Shakespeare, not because I'm a British literature buff, but I love what it says. He wrote, "I can no other answer make, but thanks and ever thanks." This is one of the areas where students fall down big time. We're on the front page of the handout at the very bottom. When it ends, the follow-up begins. I recommend handwritten thank you notes 24 to 48 hours after an event. Everybody says, "Jonathan, I have to handwrite thank you notes? My handwriting stinks." I don't care, print it. Okay? It makes a huge difference when you're dealing with people. If you send me an email thank you note, I'm going to read the email and I'm either going to put it in my university email folder or more likely delete. But if you send me a handwritten thank you note, I'm going to pin it up on my desk. And on Friday afternoon, when I really don't feel like being in the office, I'll start flipping through those thank you notes. Refreshes your name in my mind and makes it relevant over again. So I recommend anytime you do a career fair, an interview, a job site tour, if you've got a really great guest lecture coming in on networking maybe, send a thank you note. It means a lot. Handwrite it 24 to 48 hours. Another great tip is go to the bookstore and get yourself some Penn State note cards. They're blank on the inside. I get no kickback from the university for telling you to buy these things, okay? But it helps the recruiter do their job. If you go and get yourself a Penn State note card and send it, like instead of going to Hallmark and getting me a thank you note that has like kittens or something on it, you send me the thank you note with the Penn State, I immediately make that connection. And I can go to my resume pile for Penn State, put a little asterisk on your resume, which is my notation that you sent a thank you note. So you're helping the recruiter do their job. The other thing is with the LinkedIn, when you're introducing yourself, we bypassed it, but I want to bring it up again. If you're introducing yourself, don't just hit the connect button. Everybody seems to do that. They just hit that connect button when a person comes up that they're interested in connecting with. You want to tell the person a little bit about you, what your connection is to that individual. Unless you're very close with the person, then it's okay to just hit the connect button. But there's an opportunity for you to provide a little note to the individual. You should do that so you can refresh their memory. And it's good to send those as part of after your thank you, after they receive your thank you note. Send a note in LinkedIn and try and connect with them. I have my 8 keys to career success, in my opinion. The first one is keep on keeping on. Okay? You are going to get letters of rejection from companies. It's inevitable. Okay? But it's how you deal with it. You don't let it get you down. You need to get yourself up, pull yourself up by the bootstraps, and get back on it. So keep on keeping on. Prepare, plan, and practice. We talked about that a lot. Going out and doing your homework on the companies. Planning how your goals are going to work. Practicing your professional pickup line with your roommates or your friends. You need to also sharpen your marketing skills. Most likely, unless you're a business major here, you didn't think that you were going to have to be a marketing person. But I think that finding your career is the second most important marketing job that you're going to have to do in your life. Anybody know what the first is? In my opinion, finding a spouse. Okay? You have to market yourself. You have to put your best foot forward every time. You need to find the right fit. Company culture is one of the biggest things that I think is important when you're looking at a job. It's not the salary, even though when you get those offer letters, there's probably going to be more zeros in front of the decimal point than you may have ever seen before. Okay? It's important that you fit in that company because you've got to go every day to that job. And if you don't like it, and you don't get along, and your values don't match the company's values, it's going to be a long life. And it's not only going to affect your work product, it's going to affect your relationships, it's going to affect your friendships, it's going to affect your relationship with your spouse and your kids or whatever. So find the right fit. Go to the company's workplace before you accept the job. Would you buy a car without seeing it first? Probably not. So why would you accept a job without seeing what the office environment is first? Open your own doors. Okay? It's great to build this network of people over the years, but you've got to be prepared to open your own doors. Take the bull by the horns and do it. You need to consider the road less traveled. If you talked to me back in 1999 when I graduated as an architectural engineer and said, Jonathan, in 2013, you're going to be the director of the Corporate Knowledge Center for the 3rd largest general contractor in Washington, D.C., I would have said, you're nuts. That wasn't even on my radar screen back then. But you need to be able to look at the bigger picture. Set your goals and get yourself on a path towards those goals. Remember, it's not all about the Benjamins, baby. It's not all about the money. For example, you get 2 job offers. The first job offer comes in at $45,000. All of your health benefits are paid for by the company. You get another job offer at $50,000. But you have to pay $600 a month for health insurance. Any math majors in here? $7,200 a year you're going to have to pay in health insurance. Subtract that from your $50,000 offer, it's less than your $45,000 offer. So don't look just at the salary numbers. Look at the fit, look at the benefits, look at the culture, look at the other employees that you're going to be interacting with. It's not all about the money. And finally, remember lifelong learning. If your company is going to provide it, that's great. Take advantage of it. But if your company doesn't provide it, it's on you to get those additional skills, to keep up with what's going on in the industry. Because think about 5-10 years from now, if you're in the surveying department, surveying is going to change in 5 or 10 years. And if you don't keep up with those changes, you're not going to be relevant anymore. The people who are coming out of the university in any major are going to be more relevant than you are. So keep up with lifelong learning. I end this presentation the way I end all of my presentations. My name is Jonathan Dougherty, and I approved this message. Thank you very much. Anybody have questions? Yes?
What do you do? Like, what do you do at work?
My job? I am in charge of our Corporate Knowledge Center, which is essentially our corporate university. So all of the professional development at the company, I run. So we have classes, we're a construction company, we do classes in safety, virtual construction, we even do soft skill classes like stress management and those kind of things. So last year we ran 170 educational programs for our employees.
How large?
We have 300 employees. This year we're on track to do $800 million worth of construction. And we're only in the Washington, D.C. area. That was an easy question.
In terms of hiring, who do you hire, like from the majors we have at this university?
From
Or the university and Wilkes-Barre campus?
From Wilkes-Barre, we would hire surveyors. From the university at large, we hire architectural engineers primarily, but also civil, mechanical. And then we hire construction managers from other universities like Virginia Tech and East Carolina University. Yes?
From graduating from Duke Park, was it kind of difficult getting a job in D.C.?
It was not, but again, I had built my network up. I didn't look for this job. The job came to me because of the network. But there are so many Penn Staters down in the Washington, D.C. area. So if you make a connection with a couple of those people, and then they've got decent connections, it shouldn't be an issue. What's your area? Accounting? I mean, even construction companies and other companies are looking for accountants. You know, it may not be your goal. You know, you may want to work for a CPA firm or something like that, but every company has accountants and things in it. So it depends what your goals are, but there's a lot of opportunity in DC now. As coming up, they were talking about how we have the lowest unemployment rate in the country in Washington, DC. Part of that is because of the government. But there is a lot of opportunity down there. Any other questions? Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you to Jonathan again, and we have a little gift for him.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Wait.
You got it. You're doing all right.